In this video, I'm going to show you how I make chili ketchup from scratch. The first thing we need to do is prepare the peppers. So the way I do it, I like to have smoked peppers in my chili ketchup. It adds an extra flavor profile that I really like. So I'll be trying a new gadget today to help me with the smoking. It is a smoke box. So this is what it looks like. It's just a plain old box, and you put the wood chips inside here. Put this on the gas grill and you put the peppers in the grill at the same time, and you have some smoked peppers. I don't have a dedicated smoker just yet, so we're going to use this today. Today what we're going to be using is some jalapenos. I'm going to use some of these red jalapenos. Won't use too many of the jalapenos because I actually want a bit of heat, and these aren't terribly hot. We're going to take a couple of the green as well. So there we go, we've got 6 jalapenos. For the heat, I'm going to be using some of my super chilies. So I'm just going to head out to the greenhouse and pick some chilies. We're just going to pick a few of my super chilies. So we see quite a few ripe ones at the back there. So I'm just going to pick those and we'll get them back to the kitchen. So I think we have enough peppers for our sauce. We don't want to make it too hot. But that there will be just fine. So let's get these back into the kitchen. There we go, the super chilies are done. And the jalapenos, we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to pluck the end off. These are a bit bigger, so a bit easier to do that with. My jalapenos this year are actually pretty hot, so they're not as tame as your jalapenos normally would be. I think it's just the season we've had. So now, for the next part, you can smoke them just like that if you would like to, but I think it takes on a bit more of the smoke flavor if we just slice it lengthways, just on half of it. So it just opens up a little bit. Do that on all of them. So I'm not cutting all the way through, I'm just slicing through one little bit. Okay, do the same thing on the super chilies. Just a bit of a cut. Okay, so we've prepared them all. Because I'm going to be smoking these on the barbecue, I need to make sure they don't fall through the grid. I think the jalapenos will be fine because they're fairly large, but these definitely aren't going to do too well on a grid. So we're going to just make a bit of a pan with some tin foil. So there we go, the pepper's all going to be on here. You're going to spread them out. And that's going to go onto the grid. We're going to roughly chop a couple red onions, and we're going to add that to the peppers so that they can get smoked as well. Let's get out to the barbecue and let's kick off the smoking. The peppers and the onions have been smoking now for about 3.5 hours. Let's check on them. I think they should be done by now. The peppers and the onions are looking decent, so time to take those inside and carry on with our sauce. The hard part now is done. Smoking the peppers is probably the most time-consuming part of this. The next phases are pretty straightforward. We're going to take all the ingredients, we're going to put them in a blender, and then we're going to start cooking them. Peppers are looking good. I'm happy with that. Let's take the blender and start putting things inside it. So first thing to go in will be the peppers, as well as the onions. We're now going to be adding some tomatoes. I'll put the list of ingredients in the description below and how much of each that you need to add. So we're going to add some tomatoes. Won't be able to add them all in here at the same time. That'll be all right. So let's give that a blend. That looks like a really nice salsa right now. I'm going to be cooking my chili ketchup inside a slow cooker. If you don't have a slow cooker, I recommend you get one. They're the most versatile things in the kitchen. So this here is my slow cooker. Yeah, it's just a plain old slow cooker, nothing special about it. If you are going to buy a slow cooker, just get one that you can at least have 2 different heats, low and high, and that's all you really need. I'm going to take the inner pot outside of the crock pot, the electronic part of it, and we'll be able to put all the ingredients into here. So let's keep going. We're going to add some more of the tomatoes. Might as well add a few more things in there while we add it. We're going to need some basil. So just a handful of basil, just like that, and add that straight in with the stalks and all. We're going to be sieving this out anyway at the end, so any big bits will be taken out. We're going to take some coriander seeds. That's about a tablespoon of coriander seeds. I really do like coriander, but adjust for yourself. If you're not a fan of coriander, then add a little bit less, but about a tablespoon. Same thing with peppercorns. I know we're adding heat with the chilies that we've added, but this isn't what the pepper's for. The pepper just adds a really nice flavor. So that's about a tablespoon of peppercorns. We're going to add that in. About a tablespoon of oil. We're adding fennel. Again, this could be a bit of a preference thing. Fennel is quite strong smelling. If you're not a fan of the aniseed type flavors, then you might want to reduce the amount, but it really adds nicely to the flavor. So I'm going to be adding about that much. I think it'd be best if I chop it into a little bit smaller pieces so I can help it blend. I'm going to be adding some tinned tomato into there. So we're going to blend this up. Going to add that into the crock as well. Next, we've got some celery sticks, so 3 celery sticks, and add that to the blender as well. So garlic, I'm a big fan of garlic, so I add probably a bit more than most people, but I'm going to be using 8 cloves of garlic. Reduce it if you prefer a little bit less. Just remember, when you're cooking garlic, some of the garlic taste will go away, so it won't be as strong as it might appear right in the beginning. So there we go, 8 cloves of garlic. You're also going to add some sugar. I would recommend, if you're able to, then use brown sugar. It adds nicely to the flavor, the nice caramelized sugar taste. I tend not to use sugar too much. I use alternatives, so I use erythritol, but use what you like. It's just sweetener. The same amount of erythritol that I use is the same amount of sugar that you would use. In this mix, it's 150 grams of brown sugar, so 150 grams of erythritol for me. I'm not going to put that into the blender. That's just going straight into the pot. Need to add the other tins of tomato. We're going to be using these tins again, so don't throw them away just yet. The last solid ingredient we're going to be adding is ginger. Piece about that big. Just peel it off, get off the skin, and chop the ginger into smaller pieces so it also blends a little bit easier. There we go. So the last thing we're going to be adding is some red wine vinegar. This is a 350 ml bottle, and we're going to be adding the whole lot. Made the mistake of overfilling this just a bit. Let's take some out. And that's it. All blended up. We're just going to give that a bit of a mix inside the crock pot itself, and then we'll be ready to let it do its thing. So remember, I told you not to throw away the tins. What we need to do now is add a liter of water, and we'll mix some of that into the tins so we can get the rest of the tomato out. A liter of water, and just pour it evenly into each of the tins. And pour that into the pot. So we're now going to put the crock back into the electric element here. We're going to switch it on, just plugging it in. And we're going to give it a stir. So we're going to mix this all up now, And we're gonna turn this up to high. So we're just gonna cover that up now. It's on high. So once this has been going for about an hour on high, the sauce should be heated up where it's starting to create a few bubbles on the sides. So I can see some bubbles on the side here. At that point, you want to take the lid off and you want to let this start to thicken up. It's been about 12 hours now that we've been simmering this, and we can see now it's really reduced, probably to about half of what it was originally. And if we have a look here, that is perfect. That's what you're looking for, where it sits in a little bit of a pile when you do that. It's obviously still a little bit of liquid in here, but that's not a problem. So what we're going to do now is take a blender stick like this, an immersion blender, and you want to blend this sauce up so that it's nice and fine, and then we're going to run it through a sieve. I'm going to turn off the crock pot now, so it's off, and we're just going to start blending this. Just be careful because this is still very hot and you don't want to burn yourself. That's pretty well blended now. So once you've blended it up, you've got a couple options here. You can leave it exactly as it is here, blend it up maybe a little bit smoother than that. Or if you want a really smooth sauce like you get out of a typical ketchup bottle, you can sieve it. You can see underneath there that lovely sauce. I'm going to pour that sauce into a jug here. We have our beautiful ketchup and it's time to bottle it. If you want, you can add some emulsifiers like xanthan gum or something like that, but really you don't actually need to. This is a shelf-stable sauce, which means that it is safe for you to put on the shelf. You don't have to refrigerate it. There's enough acid in there that it will keep it safe from any of the harmful bacteria. So you do get quite a lot of sauce out of this. We had about 1.3 liters of ketchup from this recipe. That's quite a decent amount of ketchup, and honestly, once you've tried this, I argue that you might not want to go back to the store-bought. Because I'm bottling it while this is still quite warm, it's going to create a little bit of a vacuum, which I want. It's not terrible if you don't get a vacuum, but it always helps. So basically what that means is the air inside you is quite warm. When it cools down, this should pop in and should show that there's a bit of negative pressure in here, so it'll keep it nice and safe. This here will stay safe probably for the next 2 or 3 years if you really want. I know I'll go through this quicker than that, but it is nice and shelf stable. Just keep an eye on it, make sure there's no funny growth at the top when you open it up and any funny smells, but honestly with the pH level that this is at, it should stay for a long time. I know it takes a long time to make, but most of the work is done by your slow cooker. So if you do want to speed it up a little bit, you can reduce the amount of water we add. You know, I added 1 liter of water, maybe add half a liter of water. It'll speed up the process, but I think cooking it longer, it really allows the flavors to come together nicely. If you do make your own chili ketchup, let me know in the comments below. I want to see how yours turns out. I'm going to try another method of making chili ketchup in the future using fermented peppers and fermented tomatoes. We'll see how that turns out, but that's for another video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again on the next one. Bye bye for now.